Hi, this is Tony Martin. You're listening to Via Noctura. Keep rocking.
Hi, Tony. It's a great honor to be doing this interview with you. I'm really a big fan of your work and what you've done throughout your career. Thorns has just been released. How have the reactions been until now?
Fantastic. I mean, I'm really happy. It's getting great words. And thank you to guys like you who are spreading the word and telling everybody what we're doing. It's very important to us, obviously, that you do your work. So, yeah, everybody's starting to hear about it. And fortunately, I dare say it's the right time, the right band, the right album. Just seems to all come together. So yeah, very happy, and so far it's going good. Yeah.
And between Thorns and your last solo album that was Scream, there are 17 years. Why did you take so long to deliver this album?
I was busy getting old. See this color here? This is genuine old. I'm 65 years old now, and my career, my life came into the studio. I don't have a band because that's where my career went. It's not a bad thing. It's not a great thing, but it's just the way my life worked out. So all of my time is spent recording, sessions, guest appearances and solo albums and stuff like that. And so, when work comes into the studio, then the solo album goes away, and then you do the work, and then the solo album comes back, and then you do a little bit, and then the solo album goes away again, and then it just gets stretched out, But it sort of started about 10 years ago, and I was doing a slightly different thing. The first songs that I wrote was Book of Shadows. That's what the album was going to be called back then. We did Crying Wolf and Damnation, and I thought I was going to go into that sort of direction, But then I met Scott McClellan on Facebook, of all places, and he started sending me guitar riffs and things. So then it all kind of changed. So then I had to work out which way the album was going to go, and it took 10 years. I mean, it took a long time for us to, work it out. And in the end, I just said, you know what? Let's do it all. Let's just put everything on the album. And it worked. If you could climb inside my head, it's a nightmare in there. It's crazy inside my head. All of these different directions and instruments, electric violin, and all these sounds. That's what it's like in my head. So I was really happy that I allowed myself to record this album with all of this stuff on it, because now it's the most Tony Martin sounding Tony Martin record that there's ever been, I think. Really happy, but that's why it took so long, because things were happening and changing and like all of that stuff. Hopefully the next one won't take 17 years.
I hope so, because if the next album is as good as Thorns is, I really want to listen to that. And yeah. I don't want to wait for 17 years for that.
No, not me.
As you said, you changed the name from Book of Shadows to Thorns. Why?
Well, for a start, the name Book of Shadows kind of got used by Bruce Dickinson. He did Book of Souls, right? Well, okay, can't use that name anymore. And then it was going to be called Black Widow Angel. Nah, that didn't work. But then Thorns, the title track, it started to build into this beautiful thing. And so I kind of took that as the name for the album. Thorns, do you want me to tell the story of Thorns, or is this a question for later on? No, all I was going to say was that the Thorns, the song, not the album, Thorns, the song, the character and story is about a woman who is abused, has been abused. She self-harms, so she cuts her skin and stuff like that, and she doesn't want to speak to anybody. So it's, don't talk to me, don't talk to me. And anytime somebody is kind to her, she hates it, because the kind words that they speak stick like thorns. It's like, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear, the stuff. Okay, that was the subject, and that's a rock song just in itself. But then COVID came along, and maybe you guys hear the same thing, that now in COVID, people who are abused can't escape. They're stuck in their house. And so now the abusers have them trapped, and now it's like, oh, actually, that's quite serious. It was supposed to be a rock song, and now it's turning into this serious subject. And I'm not sure now if that's a good idea. And then some woman called me and said, this song is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And she had been an abuse victims counselor for 20 years. And she said, this song really, really is an example of, what it can feel like and what it's like. So thank you. I'm going, actually, I didn't intend to be an ambassador for this subject or this thing, but now it's starting to gain this quite serious subject, and I wasn't sure I've done it justice. But then I got Pamela Moore to sing the girl part on the song, and she did a really good job of putting that passion into it. So it just turned out fabulous. And so the name Thorns for the album, for the song, for the subject, it all came together, and it was just a great thing that all happened, and it all seemed to make sense. So yeah, let's call it Thorns.
And it fits up, I guess. And you already said that your composition process is a complete mess inside your head. Yeah. But did you change anything for this album, comparatively to Scream, for example?
No, my head is still a mess. It's crazy in there, honestly. It's just, I am so curious with music. I love all kinds of instruments. I play all sorts of things: bass, drums, keyboards, guitar, harmonica, bagpipes. I do all sorts of stuff. And if I can, I will use them. Electric violin, that's on the album. All kinds of stuff up there. So that has never changed. So now, if you go back Where I Belong, it's very different, isn't it? So that was me trying to be 1980s rock commercial thing. Okay, didn't really fly, but that was me then. And then Scream. Okay, so now my head's going, I want to do something heavy. Okay, so now I'm doing something heavier. And it was heavy, but it still didn't release me so that I could be free and do all this stuff. But then Thorns just exploded. I mean, just great to have all of that Tony Martin's shit on there. And so there is a development, there is a move forward, but it's of the day. I mean, Back Where I Belong was like 1980s, and Scream was like 1990s, 2000s, and then Thorns is of today. So it's still the same messed up head, but just a different album.
It's your process of evolution as a writer too.
Yeah, it's just me continuing to do. But this album really is more me than any of them, really.
One song that I particularly like of this album is This Your Damnation. It's completely different from the rest of the album. It's a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of following a musical path closer to this song?
No. I mean, my head, my brain won't let me. It's just like, okay, what are we doing today? I'm going to wear yellow trousers and a red hat. Okay, what are we doing today? I'm wearing green. It's just, my brain was in that space at that time. And I don't know that I could write another Damnation song, but I wasn't sure that people would like Damnation. I mean, I tried to get it removed from the album, but everybody was saying, no, it's cool, keep it. So we did keep it, and so far everybody's more or less liked it, but I think it needs a video. to explain.
It does to explain all the story too. Can you
Yeah.
explain? Can you explain it too?
Yeah, because okay, it's the old God devil thing. It's the God devil thing is old school, right? It's been done a lot, but if you put a different twist on it, a different story, then yeah, okay. So it's a guy, he's just thinking, and the speaking voice is like the voice in his head. And so it starts off with God, and he puts a Bible in front of him, and the dude said, yeah, okay, I've read that, it's shit. Okay, throws it away. Buff, another Bible appears. Yes, I've read it, I don't like it. Another Bible appears, getting bigger. Okay, already. So now God's saying, this is your damnation. You. Right, that's the first bit. Then the devil tries. So now the devil's trying to get him to go on his side. So it needs a video to explain how the words work, but it's still a song in its own right, you know, and that unplugged thing kind of works with the heavy break in between. So I look forward to getting a video for it, so to make it a bit more understandable. But yeah, I like it a lot. I really like it.
It goes along with the album. The album is, how can I say, it's different from the rest of the album, so it's kind of a break there in the more or less in the middle. I think it stays pretty well. And
it used to be in the old days. I really am this old. When the old days, when you used to be able to make a track list, and you used to try and put the tracks in an order to listen to an album. People don't really listen to albums quite so in the same way that we used to in the old days. The only way to skip a track in the old days was to go to the record player, lift the needle off the album, put it down somewhere else. Okay, that got really boring. So usually you would let it play through the album and go, I don't like this song. But you would kind of come to like it eventually because you sort of keep listening to it. That doesn't happen these days. People are gratification has to be instant, so you just skip to the next song, for example. But this album really worked in that order. And did you notice the tracks are in alphabetical order?
As a matter of, I haven't noticed that. But
yeah,
since you mentioned it, why have you
it was
done
a mistake.
that?
It was an absolute mistake. So it's As the World Burns, then Black Widow Angel, Book of Shadows, Crying for Wolf. So it's A, B, C, D, Damned by You. And when you work on a computer, you notice that if you put your files in a folder, it automatically puts it into alphabetical order, right? I didn't notice that. So like years after I'd started it, I suddenly realized that these songs were in like alphabetical order, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's just like, how did that happen? It sounds like it works. So I kept it, and I think it's the first time it's ever been done that the tracks are in alphabetical order. But how cool did it work? Because like you said, you've got This Is Your Damnation just before Thorns, and that gives you a break before Thorns begins, for example. It just worked. So there's been a lot of spooky stuff around this album and coincidences and like stuff. It's just, I love it. It's just how it's all turned out has been fantastic.
It can't seem like the devil working that alphabetical order part.
Yeah, who knows?
Now, moving on. Regarding your vocal performance, have you adopted any new technique for this album?
Well, for my age, yes, because as you get older, your body changes. And so now I'm singing down about 5 notes from where I was in Black Sabbath. This is my new range now, and I've had to get used to that. I'm singing in my new range. So things have changed, and now I do, more vocal exercises. When I need to sing, I have to work harder to get it, but it still works, So I'm happy at the moment. Obviously, the older you get, the more you have to sort of work for it and do stuff like that. So at the moment, I'm happy, and I'm 65 years old, and I'm still singing and recording. So, cool. Cool. It's all cool.
And sounding better than what it sounded in your 20s, maybe. Looking back now.
Yeah, I mean, although I can't sing as high as I did when I was 20 years old, I don't think any man should sing that high anyway. But you know, yeah, my voice was very clean when I was 20 years old. La 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 la, like, you know, and now it's like, oh no, it's different. So you sort of develop your voice and your techniques as you go along. I've never had any tuition. I don't have any lessons. I can't read music at all. It's all, I've had to teach myself how to do it. In fact, when I was at school, I failed all my music exams. And they threw me out. I was that shit at it. So I don't know where it comes from. It's just an internal creation thing, you know. And you can do that. You can work by ear rather than from written music. But it's not for everybody. You have to experiment a lot.
And it maybe takes the double or the triple of the time that it does the other way.
Well, it can, but you have a lot more fun. You know, if you're doing it by experimenting. What if I put this guitar here? Let me try that vocal line. Maybe I could use electric violin. It's all playing and you're having fun at the same time, kind of, you know, when you're creating music. That's the way I do it anyway. Not everybody does it that way.
Okay, as you said, this is the right band at the right time, and it's a non-star lineup. Was it easy to unite all these wonderful musicians in one album?
Well, they're all friends or family. My daughter sings on Book of Shadows and my son plays guitar. But then I've got great friends in Magnus Rosen and Greg Smith. People I've worked with before, like Bruno, he played the only keyboards on Crying Wolf and Book of Shadows. Dario Mollo, who's a great guitar player I've worked with before in the Cage things. They're all friends and all people that I know, and really, really cool to have them all aboard. And I can't thank them enough for joining me on this album. It's just great. Now, just as an example, Black Widow Angel, that crazy bass thing in the middle. And I got in touch with Magnus Rosen. I said, Magnus, can you play a bass solo? And he said, yes, I think I can do this. So like he recorded it and sent it back to me. Ah, fabulous, fantastic. That's really cool. So I kept it, you know, and just having other people input those things makes the album more interesting, you know. It makes it what's the word? Variation. The variation on it is fantastic.
And you mentioned the Cage. Do you have any new plans for that project of yours? Maybe a new album coming soon?
Not at the moment now. I'm concentrating on Thorns. The Cage was great, and I love working with Dario. We came to an end, really. I'm not sure what else we go with it. We just keep on going, but it doesn't receive the applause that it deserves. Dario's a great player and great writer, and we had some really cool tunes. But you know, in all of the years that I was working with the Cage, this album Thorns has just exploded, far bigger than anything that we did with the Cage. So for that reason, I would have to work something out and try and make sure that it was better. But at the moment, Thorns is it, and so I'm running with that. So no plans really at the moment. But you know, who knows in the future.
Now, as you said, Thorns has been very well received. But in your opinion, if you were to rate all the albums that you have made throughout your career, including the Cage albums, like Sabbath albums, all that you were in which position would Thorns be?
Number one. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, man. This is just fantastic. I've never had the freedom or the I say the balls to record something like this before. So yeah, I think this is number one. And bands always say that. They always say, "Oh, the album that we're working on now, that's the best one." Now, I really mean it. I think this is really, really cool.
Okay, and you have now more than 35 years of career under your belt. What can the fans still expect from you?
Oh well, we don't know. I mean, who knows what the future is? My intention is that we continue with this. We're already writing the next Tony Martin album. It's in the same style as this one.
Do you already have a working title for that you can
No,
reveal?
we don't worry about that until later on. It's not the first thing that you think of. The name of the album kind of comes later, but already Scott has sent me 39 more guitar tracks, so I'm gonna start working on these things. And if I may just talk about Scott McClellan a little bit, he's been unknown to many people. I mean, everybody knows him now, but he lives in America, and just met him on Facebook, and he's started sending me these riffs. Well, he's got a fantastic connection with guitar riffs. He's very creative, and I think he must have his brain permanently plugged into a Marshall amplifier or something like that, because I don't know how he does this shit. And he just keeps working and working and bringing out these things. But the other great thing about Scott is he gives every riff a name. And that is really unusual, because usually when you work with a guitar player, it's like riff in E, slow riff in E, fast riff in E, slow riff in A. Doesn't really tell you much. But when Scott sends me his guitar tracks, it's like got a name to it, like As the World Burns. Okay, now I have the possibility of making a song from the inspiration of the name that he's given the riff. So that was cool. And also, when he sends you these riffs, you know which one he's talking about because it's got a name. It's not like, you have to go playing through everything to find out which one it is. So that was really cool. Also, I told him that to be Tony Martin, I have to cut up the tracks, and I have to put a verse here and a chorus there, and I have to make it work for my voice. And he was really good. He said, "Yeah, brother, whatever you want to do, it's yours to use, just use it." And that meant I could make the songs Tony Martin, and that's what's been great about this collaboration with Scott. It's worked in my favor, and it sounds more Tony Martin because Scott McClellan is working with me. It's another one of those mysteries, but he's been really great, and I think you will hear a lot more of Scott, in the years to come. He's still younger, so he's got years left in him to go. So I think he will appear on more stuff, But for now, we're working on the next Tony Martin album anyway as well. So yeah, Scott is a great addition to this whole album.
Okay, now moving back in your career a little bit, moving to your Black Sabbath years. Recently, you revealed that you sang in demos for Dehumanizer.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to keep this silent for so long?
It wasn't keeping it silent. It's just that people don't talk about the Tony Martin era. Whenever the books are written about Black Sabbath or something, they skip my name, they skip my history, they kind of go past it. Nobody really has told the Tony Martin story yet, and that's one of the stories that I, from my point of view, if I'm telling the story, that's what I would tell you. So now people are talking about that later, from way back when it happened. But yeah, it was when after I'd left, or after I was fired, then I started doing Back Where I Belong, and they called me and asked me to go back, and I said, no, I can't, because I'm doing my first solo album. Okay. And then they called me back again later on and said, are you sure you can't come and try something? Okay, I'll come and try. So I went down to the studio where they were recording stuff, and I did try to sing something and work with the songs, but as I said, my head is kind of crazy, and so I needed to rewrite the lyrics and the melodies and stuff, and they said, we just don't have time, to rewrite everything. I said, okay, well, best thing to do is carry on with Ronnie, and then after, maybe we can talk again. And that's what kind of happened. So yeah, I've been associated with Black Sabbath even through, like, when we weren't together. My name has been associated for 11 years or something like that.
And although you spent 11 years or roughly 10 years on Black Sabbath, I always get the feeling that your work was never valued, neither both by the fans and by the band itself. Do you have the same feeling?
No, well, kind of. I mean, that you have to realize, I think, that the Sabbath before the original obviously was Ozzy, and then the next big one is Ronnie James Dio. Of course, there's other singers in between. There's like Glenn Hughes, Ian Gillan, and all of that stuff, and that's cool. But it went in big sections, big blocks. So you had Ozzy, then you had Ronnie James Dio, and then you had me. So you compare. We all compare. We always do it. Everybody does it, to the previous one or the one before that. And at the time, the band was really quite low. So we had to work hard to build it back up again. And I think we certainly missed America. We did try America, but for me, Europe was better. I gathered more fans around Europe, Russia, Japan, that kind of thing, and in Brazil, South America. But North America didn't really quite catch the vibe. I mean, didn't really get into it. It was different band. I mean, we were quite technical. Headless Cross and Tear were, I mean, I was singing 50 tracks of vocals, making choirs, and Tony Iommi was layering lots of guitars, and we had keyboards. And Black Sabbath didn't start off as a keyboard band, with Ozzy. They had like thunder and a few bells, something like that, but they didn't have like keyboards. So of course that changed when Jeff Nichols joined the band. And then when I joined, then we were really, really layering a lot of sounds and stuff. So we got quite technical with the Black Sabbath sound, and so I think, they just went back to the original with the Ozzy thing, because that's the only place they could really go. You couldn't have got much more technical than what we were doing. So it's not that I don't think they appreciate. A lot more people are appreciating it now. They're going back to those days, those albums, the Black Sabbath albums, and rediscovering them and appreciating what we did. But yeah, that's just the way it went. I don't think it's anybody's fault.
Maybe people are appreciating it more now, precisely because they are acknowledging now that the evolution that Black Sabbath made included those keyboards. When a band makes their own path and evolves from album to album, sometimes it's not easy for the fans to adapt. Maybe that's why they're giving it more value now. Now, moving back to
Can I just say, though, just in addition to that, is that kids and people now are much more accepting of changes in bands and music these days. I mean, you can get so many great things. And like now, for example, with Thorns, I'm putting all of this stuff on my album, which I couldn't have done in the 1980s, 70s, 90s, probably 2000s, I don't know. But people are much more accepting now of those changes. So I think that has something to do with it. So, sorry, your next question was what? Sorry.
I was moving back to Thorns again and ask you which are your touring plans for this album and if Portugal is included there.
Portugal is always included. it's always in mind. Right. So, as I told you, I've been in the studio for 25 years. I don't have a band. I have to hire the musicians if they're available. Then you have to rehearse the band, then you have to make the stage show, then you have to plan the tour. So it's a bit of a regret for me that I don't have a band, and I never kept a band. But then I've been working in the studio, so that's where my life and my career went instead of, you know, having a band. It does mean that I have to start from the beginning. I mean, right at the beginning to make the band, to make the show, to plan it. And then you've got COVID. Okay, my country might say, yeah, you can go, and then your country might say, no, you can't come here. So we're in this position where we can't really plan anything. It's not going to be this year, and we've already started writing the next album, so who knows? I mean, it might be possible that we record another album first and then try touring after that and take 2 albums out on the road. I don't know. All I know is that it's harder for me to build a band and start from the beginning than it is to just, you know, go out and tour. It is in mind, and I would love to come there, and I would love to come to Portugal. Portugal's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Love it. Been there a few times. So yeah, it's always in mind, and as soon as it's possible, I will let you know, and then you can sort of tell everybody.
Okay, and you have already made shows in Portugal, right?
Yes, actually with a band called M3.
Is there any fun story that you can tell us about one of those shows that you made?
From Portugal?
Yes.
Not really stuff that you could broadcast, but you know, we've had a few moments over there. We were traveling in a van, and we was with the Whitesnake guys. So it's Bernie Marsden, Mickey Moody, Neil Murray, me, and the driver was going really quite fast down one of the motorways, and the tire exploded. There was something on the road, and he drove over it, and the tire exploded. Scared us to death. So we all had to sort of climb out this van, and we were all trying to, you know, put the new tire back on, but we couldn't fix it. And things like that happened to us, but, you know, not many other stories I can tell you, not without getting sued.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Tony. Would you like to send any message to your Portuguese fans?
Yes. I'd just like to thank everybody, you know, for being part of this. You invite me into your home, your car, your headphones. You take me with you around your daily lives, and that's a great feeling. You know, I love that you've got me there. I really appreciate the support. It's been fantastic. So, you know, I really want to thank everybody just for being part of it. You're as much a part of it as we are. That's what completes the circle. It's no good if we just sit here in the studio and play to ourselves. That's no good. We want everybody else to hear it. So, yeah, just to say thank you to everybody and all the fans for their support. And that's really, really cool. Very, very cool. Thank you very much.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much, Tony.
You're very welcome, Daniel. Thank you again.